It's important to maintain regular communication both with sales leads and your active clients. I'll show you how you can use Daylite combined with Smart Lists to make sure that you're responding to leads in a timely manner and taking good care of your clients. Let's start by creating a basic Smart List showing all people who are your active clients. So I'll click on People. Now I'm seeing a list of all people in Daylite. And I want to filter this list so I'm only seeing ones that are in the category of Client Active. And now, since this is something I'm going to use frequently, I'll save it as a Smart List. And I'll call the Smart List Clients-Active. Now at this point you could go through these clients one by one and just check to see any where there hasn't been any recent activity. This is certainly possible, but it can get very tedious if you have a very long list of clients. So we're going to create a new Smart List that shows clients where there hasn't been any activity in more than 2 weeks. So I'll go back to my list of people and I'm going to build on the filter we just created. So I'll click on the magnifying glass. And what I want to do next is create a sub-filter, and I'll show you how this is going to be used in a moment. I'll click on the ellipsis. And one thing I want to filter on in this case is activity. So I'm going to say activity in the last 14 days. So now I'm seeing a list of all clients where there has been some activity in the last 14 days. But in this case, I'm interested in ones where there hasn't been activity recently. So I'm going to change this from match all to do not match any. Then just to clean this up a little bit, I'm going to delete this top criteria and the bottom criteria because we're not using either of these. And I'll save it as a Smart List. And I'll call it Clients-Active, then a greater than sign 2W for 2 weeks. Okay, so now I have two Smart Lists, one showing all active clients and one showing clients where there hasn't been any activity in more than 2 weeks. Now, regular intervals, maybe a few times a week or even once a day, I can go through this list. And if someone appears on this list, it means that they haven't been getting the attention they deserve and it's time to do something about that. So I'll start with Adrian Lee, and I'm not going to call or email him right away, but I want to create a task to remind me to do so in the future. So what I'm going to do is click on the Create New Linked Item, and I'll create a new task. And I'll simply call this one Call Adrian Lee. And I'm going to add it to my work list so that I don't lose track of it, to give it a bit more prominence. And now you'll notice Adrian Lee is still on the list because there still hasn't been any activity. But as soon as I check this task complete, then that qualifies as activity and Adrian Lee disappears from the list. So let's look at one more example. Let's take Alex Smith. In this case, I've decided I'm going to send an email to Alex to check in. So I'll click on the Work label, say Send Email. And I'll call the email Checking In. Hi Alex, just a note to check in. And now I'm going to select Alex on the sidebar so that this information is added to Daylite and associated with Alex. And then I'll click Send. Now if I go back to Daylite, you'll notice Alex's name is no longer on the list because there has been some recent activity. Now let's create another Smart List. This time I'm going to create a Smart List of all of the people in the database who are active leads. So I'll start by clearing the filter by clicking on the X. Then we'll click on the magnifying glass. And in this case, I'm going to set a few different criteria. I'll say category is, and then an active lead, the way Daylite is set up in this case, is someone who's in the category of lead hot, medium, or cool. So I want to track all three of those. So I'll add hot as a criteria. Then I'll say category is medium. Category is cool. So now I've got all three criteria in there. At the top here it says people then match all of the following, and I want to change that to people who match any because I want it to be all people who have one of those three categories. So I'll say match any. And now I have a list of all people in the database that either are a hot, medium, or cool lead. And I'm going to save that as a Smart List, and I'll call it leads-active. As was the case with clients, I want to be able to track which leads are not getting the attention they deserve. So I'm going to go and create another smart list. I'll click on people again. Click on the magnifying glass, and I'm going to build on this filter that I just created. So I'll start by creating another sub-filter. And this time I'm going to say activity is in the last, let's say 3 days, because I want to make sure I have very regular contact with leads. And again, I'm interested in ones where there hasn't been any activity in 3 days. So I'm going to say do not match any. And once again, I'll save it as a smart list. I'll call this one leads-active greater than 3D for 3 days.